The Year to There podcast, it's time to start the show. Be sure to hold on tight, here we go. Exploring all the different Disney destinations. Year to There, it's time to start the fun.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Year to There podcast, Walt Disney World Word of the Week. I am your host, Phil Gramlich, and each and every week I will bring you a different Walt Disney World word and then give you background, tips, tricks, hints, stories, all about that Walt Disney World word. For this week's Word of the Week, I went with something a little bit different because it was kind of difficult to come up with one on my own for this topic, for this letter. So this week's Walt Disney World Word of the Week is brought to you by the letter Q. Q for questions. That is right. This week, I asked my social media audience as well as my podcast audience for questions about the Disney parks, about the resorts, about really anything they'd like to know. And this week, I will do my best to answer a few of those questions. Now, I did get quite a few submissions, so I can't answer all of them on this podcast, but I will keep them for a future episode of a question and answers podcast and answer them in the future. And if you would like just an answer to your question and you don't want it read on the show, feel free to email me and I will email you back the answer to your question. Okay, so let's get started with question number 1. This first question is from Facebook from Amanda Christensen Olsen. And the question is, the number 1 attraction you should get fast passes for in each park if you were thrill-seeking adults. Amanda, well, first off, thank you so much for your question, and thank you for listening to the show. Both are really, really appreciated. So if you're a thrill-seeking adult and you're going to the Magic Kingdom, the attraction I would get fast passes for kind of varies. I know, I'm already breaking the rules, Amanda. I am so sorry. But in the summer, I would say I would definitely get a fast pass for Splash Mountain because the queue is outside. A lot of it is in the sun. It's hot. And if you can avoid waiting in that queue for 45 minutes to an hour, I would do that and get a fast pass for it. As for any time other than the summer, I would go with Space Mountain. Yeah, it's classic. It's been there for decades. Guess what? The line is still long all the time. So yeah, I would say summer, Splash Mountain. Anytime other than the summer, definitely go with Space Mountain. Now in Epcot, for a thrill-seeking adult, I would fast pass Test Track. Normally my answer to this would be Soarin', but Soarin' is not exactly a thrill ride. So fast pass Test Track, that's your best bet. Or look, I'm cheating already here. 2 times in a row. The first 2 parks, I'm cheating to answer these questions. But my other advice is, or you could always get that fast pass to Soarin', and if you don't mind being broken up, your party being broken up, you can get in the single rider line for Test Track. That way you get to do 2 attractions. I know, like I said, Soarin' is not a thrill ride, but you get those 2 attractions kind of for the price of 1, so to speak. For Hollywood Studios, I'm pretty much going to do the same exact thing and cheat again. I would say if you don't mind your party being broken up, then get a fast pass for Tower of Terror and use the single rider for Rock and Roller Coaster. But if you do mind your party being broken up, I would say get a fast pass for Rock and Roller Coaster and then just wait in a standard standby queue for Tower of Terror. And at Disney's Animal Kingdom, there's only one attraction that I say thrill seekers absolutely need to fast pass, and that, of course, is Expedition Everest. Okay, on to question number 2. And question number 2 also comes from Facebook, from Lisa Murray Simmons. And the question is, the Rivers of Light show, is it up and running? Thank you so much, Lisa, for your question. And the answer to this one is, unfortunately, no. It is not up and running yet. The Rivers of Light show at Disney's Animal Kingdom was supposed to premiere in April of 2016. Obviously, that did not happen. There's been delay after delay. Then in October, it was rumored, and all of the Walt Disney World quote-unquote unofficial blogs had Rivers of Light opening sometime in April or May 2017. And then in late October, it was rumored that Rivers of Light will be opening on or around November 18th, 2016. It is now past that date and still no Rivers of Light and no answer exactly on when it will be premiering. So Lisa, I wish I could have better news for you, but no, the show is not up and running. Keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully it will be coming sooner rather than later. All right, on to the next question. And this one comes via email from Sandra Evans. Now, Sandra asks, here's something someone threw out to us. What about doing a cruise and going to Walt Disney World for a couple days? If you can do this, would you go to Walt Disney World first and then on the cruise, or the other way around? I am guessing there would be a bus or something to get from one to the other. So, Sandra, thank you again so much for the question. I really appreciate it. And to answer your question, absolutely you can do both in one vacation. Disney markets these as the land and sea vacations, but they would actually be two different bookings, two different reservations that you would make, either through a travel agent like myself or through Disney. And then they would be linked together so you can kind of smoothly transition from one to the other. And yes, there is a bus that will take you from your resort to the port where the ship leaves at Port Canaveral and will bring you back to the airport after your cruise is over. As far as should you do the cruise first or should you do Walt Disney World first, here's how I like to do it, okay? I really like doing Walt Disney World first. The reason why is Walt Disney World is a go, go, go kind of vacation, right? You're up really early in the morning, you're out the door, you're in the parks, you're going from attraction to attraction, you barely stop to eat, you're running around, you're going crazy nonstop for days and days and days. Whereas the cruise is something that isn't fast-paced. It's very relaxed. There's really no hurry to do anything. You can do things on your own schedule. You can kind of do as much or as little as you'd like. If you'd like to sit on the deck, on the Lido deck for hour after hour with your book and your cocktail, watching everyone else do things, you can do that. If you want to relax in that hot tub, if you want to go get a massage at one of the spas, if you want to just kind of wander around the ship aimlessly for hours or even days, you can do that. It's your cruise. You can do it however you want it. It can be as relaxed as you want it to be. That's why I think get all the hustle, all the running around, make your feet hurt in Walt Disney World, and then go enjoy the relaxing vacation that is a Disney cruise. Get off of the port if you'd like. Go to the beach. Go to Castaway Cay. Rent yourself a little private cabana. Get your own little cabana boy. I mean, he doesn't have to be a little cabana boy. He could be an average or even tall cabana boy. Either way, you know what I'm saying. Go, my opinion is to go to Walt Disney World first. Do the cruise second. I really think that's the best way to do it. So thank you again, Sandra, for your question. All right, my next question comes from Facebook again. And this one comes from Amanda Regan Matt Parsons. This is actually obviously a dual shared account by Amanda and Matt. And the question is, one thing I don't know, can we buy a one-day Magic Kingdom pass online? If so, can we set up Fast Passes in advance, or do we have to buy the tickets there and visit a Fast Pass kiosk? So Amanda and Matt, thank you so much for your question. Again, I really appreciate it. The answer to this question is yes, you absolutely can buy a one-day Magic Kingdom park ticket online, and you can select your Fast Passes in advance for that one day. The website you want to go to is disneyworld.disney.go.com/tickets. Or, of course, you could get in touch with me. Head over to eartotheretravel.com or email me at phil@eartotheretravel.com. And I will not only help you purchase that ticket, but I will set up your Fast Passes as well. So yes, guys, Amanda and Matt, you definitely can purchase that in advance online. And as always, I'd be more than happy to help you set that up. Okay, time for one more question. And this one, we're going back to Facebook. And Michelle, I apologize if I don't pronounce her last name correctly. I believe it's pronounced Hassall. So Michelle Hassall, her question is, we have spent a lot of time in the parks. And now that my boys are getting older, what are great things to do at the resorts and beyond? We can't wait for our first round of golf. This question might be a podcast on its own. First of all, Michelle, thank you so much for your question. And yeah, I think this is a podcast on its own. As a matter of fact, if you have no legal right to this idea, I am going to steal it from you and record this on a future episode of my Ear to There podcast. But I can give you a quick kind of abbreviated answer here on this podcast. And I would say your first thing that you said, a round of golf. Yes, golf in Walt Disney World is fantastic. That's one of the things you can do, as well as miniature golf. If you guys are into miniature golf at all, that's also really fun. They have some really challenging miniature golf courses on Walt Disney World property, so check those out as well. One thing that I think you have to consider doing is going to Disney Springs. Now, my friend Johnny Shortsleeve and I did an entire episode on the top and best things in Disney Springs. That was episode 40 of the Ear to There podcast. But you could definitely spend not only hours, but I think an entire couple of days exploring, shopping, and eating all around Disney Springs. As far as the resorts go, one of my favorite places to go is over to Disney's Boardwalk. That place at night, the Boardwalk at night, is one of my favorite places in all of Walt Disney World. Go to ESPN for a big game. I love that. I love when I'm there in Walt Disney World and one of my favorite teams is playing a big game. We get a table in the room with the big screen TVs. You sit, you have a drink, you have some appetizers. You watch your favorite team's games on TV. That's awesome. Also at the Boardwalk, you can rent a Surrey and ride it around the Boardwalk. Just a tip for you guys, if you're bringing kids, don't let them pedal the Surreys. They're not going to make it up the hills. I've seen so many dads so sweaty pushing those Surreys up the hills at the Boardwalk Resort. So mom and dad, get on that Surrey. You guys pedal it. Let the kids ride without pedaling. I think that's the best idea. Oh, I mentioned Disney Springs. What about Characters in Flight? The huge balloon over at Disney Springs. That's something that a lot of people would enjoy. Not me. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I could not ride on a huge balloon like that. I don't know if I'm afraid of heights or I'm afraid of like losing control because I don't like flying either. But Characters in Flight terrifies me. I will not ride it, but you guys really should. I hear it's a great time. It's a lot of fun. And the views you get that high up in the air are really ones that you can't get anywhere else in Walt Disney World. Another thing you can do is rent one of the little boats or even a larger boat that you can take out on a big lake and drive around. And do you drive a boat? I think you say drive it, right? Captain it? Maybe captain a boat. I don't know. I'm not a boatsman. I'm not a boating enthusiast. So I don't know the proper terminology. But you can rent those boats out there and go take a ride and see all the sights in different ways that you ever have before from the water. That's a very cool thing to do. I know Port Orleans Riverside has a little fishing area, a little fishing hole that the kids can do or the adults can do. That's a fun little excursion that you can do on a non-park day. Oh, you know what? One of my favorite things to do is, I love this one. This is a great idea. The Monorail Resort Tour, right? That's where you get on the monorail, either at the Magic Kingdom or any of the resorts. You ride around the resort monorail on a loop. You get off at each resort. You get a snack. You grab a drink at each resort that you go to. You do a little shopping. I love that idea. I think it's a lot of fun. Plus, who doesn't want to ride the monorail around all day, right? That's cool. Or if you want to have like a more adult-oriented experience with this, you could do the monorail pub crawl. Now, I know there's no real pubs. They don't call them pubs. But you can go to like Meisner's Lounge at the Grand Floridian. You can go to the Wave at the Contemporary. And, of course, stop at Trader Sam's at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort and Bungalows. I think I got that name correct. It's hard to remember all those words. But, yeah, stop at Trader Sam's. Get a tiki rum. Look at that. I said that right, too. Or if you have some friends with you, get a Nautilus. I would recommend not getting one by yourself because, first of all, it's enormous and you would have a hard time finishing one of those by yourself. And second of all, it's like $650 for one drink. That's obviously an exaggeration, but it is quite expensive if you're going to do it by yourself. And here's the last one I'm going to mention. And I mention this guy all the time on this podcast. He's one of my favorite, if not my favorite entertainer in all of Walt Disney World. Do yourself a really big favor. Take the entire family over to Port Orleans Riverside to the River Roots Lounge. Park yourself there in front of the piano and enjoy the show of Yeehaw Bob Jackson. Bob has been entertaining guests at Port Orleans Riverside for more than 20 years, I believe, or about 20 years. His show is phenomenal. It's family friendly, and he has more energy than literally anyone I've ever seen perform before. He doesn't hold anything back. Every show is great. So make sure you go over and see Bob. And I also did an interview with Bob on episode 15 of the Ear to There podcast. So I will put a link to that interview in the show notes if you'd like to check it out. All right, that is going to do it for this week's Walt Disney World Word of the Week. Thank you so much again to everyone who sent questions to me. If I didn't have a chance to answer them, I will answer them on a different upcoming podcast. Or if you do need it answered right away, please just email me at phil@eartotheretravel.com and I'll be happy to get right back to you. As always, thank you again so much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. And if you did enjoy the show, please just tell someone about it. I'd really appreciate that as well. So since this episode has kind of gone on long enough, I usually like to try to keep these to 10 or 12 minutes, and I'm way over that right now. So Just look out for a new episode of the Word of the Week podcast each and every Wednesday morning, as well as a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning. So thank you again so much for listening. Until next time, have a great week. Bye-bye.